Imagine coordinating hundreds of people, whether it's vendors, participants, members in the community, and along with coordinating things happening with the weather changes, shift changes, all of that chaos, and staying grounded through all of that. Welcome to The Mindful Professional, where we explore how mindfulness can be incorporated and transform the way we lead and we work and we serve. I'm your host, Dr. Pinky Khatri, and I am joined by a woman who truly embodies mindful leadership in community service. Carol Robinson, a former school principal, past president of Rotary Club of Centreville and Chantilly, and one of the guiding forces behind Centreville Day, an annual celebration that brings the community together. In today's conversation, we'll explore how mindfulness shows up in leadership, service, and art of organizing an event at such a big scale. How Carol cultivates calm in chaos, inspires her team members through the presence, and creates a sense of belonging that ripples far beyond the day of the celebration itself. So take a deep breath and let's step into the story of the Centreville Day with the lens of a mindful leadership.
I've always been very curious how you went from being in the school system to having your own business that is surrounding like leaders, entrepreneurs, and also you're involved in the community with the Rotary, with the Centreville Day. You wear so many different hats. How did you get into the school system, and what made you pivot and go into being a leadership coach?
I knew since about fourth grade that I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
And I had a lot of interests. So when I went to college, which was at George Mason, our local college, I wasn't quite sure which major to have in teaching. I had an interest in Spanish and music and English. I found out if I did Spanish or any other foreign language, that I would have to go spend probably a year and immersed in the language, and I didn't have the resources to do that. And then I thought, well, I love English, but I could do that anytime, so I chose music.
Okay.
And I was probably one of the very few people who I had never had a music lesson. It was all things I had taught myself from friends and people that I knew. And so perhaps that's when this idea of community and working with other people to reach your goals and have new realizations. So then when I became a teacher, I started at the elementary school level. And by the time I was able to retire, I had been in several communities within our county. I got to know those places, and each one was very unique and different. So when I retired, I thought, well, I need to become involved with my own community. I had never taught or been an administrator, so it was time to be in my community, and that was in 2010. It's amazing what people do when they find out you're retired. They don't want you to be bored or staying at home with nothing to do. And it was just one opportunity after another.
Wonderful.
I did find that I needed to start my own business in order to handle the work that I was doing as far as giving workshops and trainings. And I like coaching people to become as good as they can be. Because of my leadership with being an administrator in the school system, I was able to work with leaders. And then becoming an entrepreneur after retired, I learned a lot of things in those first 5 years that people who are retiring need to know, but may not have the time and luxury that I did. So that's how I got to be interested in entrepreneurs. My brother was in Rotary in another community, and I like the idea of giving back and projects, that sort of thing. So I joined our Rotary Club in my area, my community. The Dulles Regional Chamber of Commerce is the chamber that I chose to become part of because they entailed most of the area that I was interested in becoming involved with and helping. And then it just kind of continued to blossom from there. I was a member of a sorority group for education, former teachers, current teachers, and we became involved in Centerville Day, doing things for kids and supporting education. And that's how I became involved in Centerville Day. And then that just blossomed as it became uh, opportunities for me to provide my skills. I'm a very good organizer.
Yeah.
You give me stuff and I'll organize it.
Yeah.
um, I think because I was so involved in my school, getting resources to help the students, I learned the value of getting other people to work with me for a good cause.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And so that idea, and I didn't know the word synergy until I read the book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And I thought, well, this is an interesting word. I'd never heard of it before. And then when I retired, it took me quite a few years to realize that that was really what I was focusing on,
Mhm.
was people working together to bring the best of themselves, to find the best of themselves, and then to bring others, what the formal term is stakeholders. It could be colleagues, friends, family, business people, whoever's in your immediate orbit, and then it kind of ripples out
Right.
to help with special projects. And Centerville Day is certainly a very big project here in our community. It's a unique project because we are not a city or a town. So everything we do has to be coordinated with all the other organizations, not just in our immediate where we live, but also from the county. And then we even have to get permissions from Virginia Department of Transportation because they manage the roads.
Right.
So it became quite an interesting new way to look at synergy.
So, for people who don't know about Central Day, tell me a little bit more. How long has it been around? What happens during the event? And how long have you been involved in it?
My understanding is that the very first one was in 1992, and I didn't realize it was the first one, but I was there.
Oh,
I took my mom and dad there. I have a T-shirt. It
that's
was
cool.
there was a parade. There were vendors. It ended up at Centerville High School there, and it was held on 4th of July. There were fireworks that night. Surprise, surprise! It continued.
Yeah.
Different people took charge of it, I guess is the best way to say it, because there's not a government entity like you find with some of the other ones that are in cities or towns. So currently, it is a nonprofit that is the um, overall sponsor. I got involved with them because my sorority group, as I mentioned before, got involved with them. And, and how did I find out about that? It was because I was tasked to have a speaker or event for one of our sorority meetings. And we went to Eleanor C. Lawrence, which is a local park. They had a female ranger, historian, who took us around the property. And she was the one who told us about Centerville Day and needing more help, and that it was growing and growing, and it had changed locations, still in Centerville.
Yeah.
And then is it a whole new facet when it comes to synergy? Ask the question and then listen and find out what you're going to learn.
So
So
how many years have you been involved with the Centerville Day?
that, I'm going to say a good 15 years.
Oh, wow.
But by the time we started with my sorority, then I helped with the entertainment, the main stage. I'm thinking because of my music background and doing chorus and shows and stuff like that. That was pretty easy. And then more as the event got bigger, then there was more help needed to the point where a few years ago, probably it was right before the pandemic. So 6, 7 years ago, they needed someone who was more like a coordinator or an organizer, not the chair, but a coordinator. I call myself the event coordinator to help in the background because we had so many balls in the air.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So what are some of the profound lessons you've learned as a school principal and a teacher that you're still able to use in what you do today, whether it's in coaching or in, in event organizing? What would you say?
Yeah. Well, patience is a virtue. That's a big one. I say that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Looking for the strengths of the people that I encounter and that I work with. If they can use their strengths as a way to give, then they're more apt to do it as a volunteer and to feel good about it and have pride in themselves, not just because they're doing something for the community, but they're doing something for themselves. For example, one new member of the planning committee, I just got an email from her. She is going around the event area and she's cleaning up some of the important areas that are in that event.
Sure.
There's a small cemetery. She's cleaned some of the stone heads
Yeah.
so that people can see who has been living in Centerville. There's some famous names and entrances to some of the historic houses. And she sent me pictures. And I didn't ask her to do that. She and nobody else. She just did that on her own. And that to me is really valuable. She's taking her strength, her interest, and adding to the success of an event that the whole community is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that idea of synergy, ask questions and then listen. That's hard to do. Um, Explore options because sometimes we have a tendency to come to the first thing. What else might we consider?
Yeah.
And that usually reveals a lot of interesting new possibilities, reviving some old ones. So I do like to do that. So that's one thing I learned.
So
And I don't have to be the center of everything.
and that's, it's so if for somebody who does so many events and so organizes and you lead so many different things, for somebody to be at a leadership position and say, I don't want to be a center of all of what I'm doing. It's humbling in many ways. You're empowering others in your team to kind of be the front facing, but you're still, holding everything apart together for the organization or the event to run as smoothly as it could. Very interesting. Yeah. So going back to your school days, tell me what challenges did you face in that setting? How did you approach them mindfully, and how has that shaped what you do today?
Mm-hmm. It wouldn't surprise you for me to say that there's always it's either confrontation or conflicts, and if they're not almost in a split second, if I didn't analyze what was going on, what was the other person's position, what might they really be thinking, what's the bottom line, what do I need to hear from them before I make any decision or even say anything? Um, I think that that was the most important thing for me to learn, and that if I could give the person the tools or help them develop the tools to solve what their question was or what their thoughts were or how to approach something, then I like the word you use, I empower them to handle it themselves so that they would be able to do it the next time and know that they would be supported because we had developed it together.
Yeah.
And because I had, for the most part, been in their positions in the past as a teacher, as an assistant principal, my experiences as a principal, I could ask questions to lead them to their own thinking.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And it must be hard when you've already experienced some of those things to actually stop and listen and be present instead of kind of going about, jumping to an answer or a solution. And it takes a lot of practice and effort to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And looks like, that has become kind of your strength, even from what I've seen you at the Rotary meetings and the Centerville Day events in the past, where you're very good at kind of listening and not necessarily giving people a solution, but kind of guiding them to find their way. And that way they feel empowered and confident in doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How cool. Okay.
And to me, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's like passing the torch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the same thing with celebrations. I don't want to leave those out because when even small steps need to be recognized and honored, even if it's just a pat on the back, a little note, um, definitely thank yous, a shout out when appropriate, because you don't want to embarrass anybody. Um, I didn't do much as far as give out Starbucks gift certificates. I tried to make it a little bit more one-on-one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think another thing that's important with listening so that people know that you're listening is to incorporate some of their language, their words when you're responding.
Yeah.
When you write essays and you
Yeah.
start the response of your essay by repeating some of the words that's in the question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's that same stretch. So there I am, English teacher me.
So it's almost like you're reflecting, so the
Yes.
other person knows that you actually heard what they said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the hardest thing is not to assume that I understand what they're saying,
yeah,
even what the term means that they use. Because in every situation, it's a little bit different, just like in every um, um, physician's office, people who do the same kind of work that you do. You all do not have the same kind of office. You have the same kind of different climates, different clientele, different locations, different challenges. So I can't assume that a word that you use or a concept term that you use fits another
okay.
business.
Yeah,
That's when I get into trouble. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it makes sense. Makes sense. So tell me, you said your brother was in Rotary and that's how you got involved. How
Right.
long have you been with the club? You've always been with the Centerville and Chantley Club, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
They had started in 2006. So I'm going to say I'm going to say 2012 because I had been retired. So I'm going to say
Mm.
2012 is probably when I joined.
Okay.
So
So
that's what 14, 13
13, 14
years.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are there specific projects that they do that are close to your heart and you've been more involved with than others?
Well, anytime we can work with the schools, that makes me very happy.
Yeah.
And last year we were able to give books to elementary school students who otherwise would not get books. So that is always very exciting. Anytime that I can find ways to involve students for example, for a very long time, we have had students from our local middle school do volunteer work for Centerville Day. They do a big cleanup on the day before, and then they are assistants throughout the venue, like stagehands and I know picking up trash doesn't sound exciting, but it does keep it very clean and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. It's just really cool to be able to bring that element into Centerville Day and other ways. So those are probably the biggest ones.
Okay. And what makes service an essential part of a mindful life?
To me,
Uh-huh.
to provide service suggests that you pause and you look around, and again, thinking about your strengths. How can I help other people become better? Or how can I help a situation turn to a positive? How can I help grow something that's good for a lot of people, for a community? And in pausing and thinking about that, then how can I help? Where do I fit in? If you want me to go door to door and hand out flyers and ring doorbells, that would not be my strength.
Yeah.
But if you want me to be a facilitator for a discussion that your group is having, or if you want me to help organize all the pieces of the puzzle, provide that border, if you will, of all the little puzzle pieces so it makes sense. So to utilize my strengths to help and then to bring other people together, that would be a strength that I would have. I worked with another nonprofit in our area that helped day workers,
Mm.
and I was on their board to help it continue to grow and sustain, to support them getting grants, hiring people, working with the day laborers. There were so many ways that I could help. I did not want to do the finances. That's not my strength.
Sure.
But
Sure.
some of the other things that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
there.
Makes sense. So, what lessons from the time that you were a Rotary president, what what do you incorporate into your planning with the Centerville Day or as a leadership coach? What have you learned and what do you use in what you're doing from being a Rotary president?
So one of the things that the Rotary, excuse me, one thing that a Rotary president does is to take a lot of information and disperse it in a good way that others can understand, can follow, can find ways to become part of, to celebrate and honor. So it's being at the sky level to help the pieces underneath, like a rainbow, or that has all the different colors that come down, and that pot of gold is Centerville Day,
Yeah.
or a Rotary project that is successful, or going with people to international conventions, or going to read to students, or having a recycling event when that wasn't a big deal. That was 10 years ago. So, but not when I was president. So it's bringing together all those things as a president and continuing to practice what works and learn from what doesn't. So that patience comes in. Um, I haven't mentioned being non-judgmental
Mm-hmm.
as you're working with people, because I can't, again, assume that I know what's going on in their background or
Yeah.
with family or with their abilities. Everyone comes with their own sense of self. So being non-judgmental is always in the back of my mind. And again, the listening and the asking questions. Humor seems to work.
Yeah.
Not to
Yeah.
be, I don't do sarcasm very well. I don't do that, but little funnies. I don't even tell jokes well.
But you're always making all of us laugh at the meeting. So, no, I really think it works. It lightens up the mood and the space. I completely agree. And about the whole non-judgmental, that's so hard to practice because, even when we're seeing patients talking to staff, it is so hard for me to put that aside and truly just be curious and present and hear what they have to say. And in that way, especially with patients, so we're seeing people with hearing loss all day. So
Yeah.
to not make assumptions, to not make judgments, and truly listen and say, how can I tailor the treatment plan for just this person and not make assumptions or judgments and generalize what I've done with others and impose it on this person. So, it's something that you have to consciously practice to be able to be present in the room, whether you're practicing as a coach or I'm doing as an audiologist or talking to my staff. I have to be very conscious about, okay, I'm here in the room and this is what I'm going to focus on. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And these are some of the core components that I've learned of being a mindful leader is
Mhm.
that's the most important thing is holding space and listening and reflecting and responding instead of just reacting to situations.
Yes. And one thing I have not mentioned that I just thought about from what you were saying was for me, I don't have to respond the second they finish talking. I
Yeah,
can actually take a breath.
yeah,
And I remember doing this, a parent call. She was upset and concerned, and she was telling me the story, and I was listening. I think I was taking notes as well. And I was trying to envision in my mind how this teacher was saying these things because it didn't sound like the teacher's language or the tone of voice. It just wasn't ringing. And I was thinking about this, and then she pauses and she goes, "Are you still there?" I said, "Oh, yes, I'm there. I'm here. I'm thinking really hard about what you're saying." And I was imagining the classroom, and I just wasn't hearing the teacher's voice saying that, so that she knew what I was doing, that I wasn't sitting there and doing other paperwork, because we
yeah,
know that that happens with colleagues sometimes,
yeah,
but that I was really trying to understand. And I think that may have been one of the times where I asked the mom if the child was there, and she said yes. And I said, "Do you mind if I talk to him?" And she said no. I mean, she said yes, I could. She didn't mind that, yes, I could talk to him. And so then he clarified a lot of things, and he might have exaggerated a few things. I know that's hard to believe, but
they're
uh,
dealing with kids.
they're just wonderful. Um, so again, just being honest and upfront with folks, but that whole idea of just stop and just take a breath. And again, you mentioned it several times. It takes practice. And I'm
Yeah,
not talking a deep breath that takes 15 seconds. I'm talking, this is just they know you're thinking,
yeah,
but it also helps you to center. And in that few second or two, because you've been practicing, you can choose which road, which path, which direction to take in dealing with whatever the situation is.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. When I think about my early self as an administrator, it took me a while to understand that I didn't have to be a shotgun approach, that I could slow it down a little bit. And I think a lot of situations I wish I had been more actively doing that. We would have probably avoided some problems. I know there is one situation where I did a lot of listening, and my school stayed out of trouble, but the other schools didn't. So I know it works, but that was later when I had experience. And as you have pointed out, practiced.
yes, yeah,
Stop, breathe.
Yes, I agree. So, is this part of your daily routine or practice? Do you have any other mindfulness practices that you personally do practice?
Probably the closest are doing yoga poses
Okay.
because I enjoy getting into the pose. And then, as my yoga teacher would say, sink into the pose,
Yeah.
which I have interpreted it as being mindful
Yeah.
and oh, what are my muscles doing? What is my breathing doing? How are my feet centered? Um, so probably my yoga practice is probably the closest to that. I do a lot of conversations in my head. My thinking is very busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I've taken lessons, of course, with however you are in positive psychology,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is one of the bases for coaching
Yeah.
becoming more popular versus mentoring, which is more telling.
Yeah.
I'm yeah, so that's probably yoga is the most. I know I talk to a lot of people about doing journals because
Mm-hmm.
it enables them to stop and to write, but I
Yeah.
had a bad experience with journaling, so I don't do that.
Okay.
But for a lot of people, that works.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard where, I've had mentors talk about like journaling first thing in the day, kind of setting intention and goals kind of thing. And
Yeah,
I've heard others speakers kind of talk about kind of, if you've had something a bad experience or something, just kind of writing it out and letting it out of your chest and being done with it.
yeah,
And I've heard it both ways. Like you, I've tried journaling. I don't do it very consistently. Um, you know, uh, I I'm trying to be part of what they call the 5 a.m. club, where you spend the first hour you wake up and you do it as the sun rises, and you move, you meditate, you read and reflect, kind of 15 minutes each.
wow,
And there are days when I do that and I see, oh, I have a better control of what I'm doing that day. And then there are days something happens with the kids or I'm behind and I don't get to my practice and my day is like all over the place.
yeah, yeah.
And so I'm always interested in asking, is there, yeah.
It was interesting. The last couple of years that I worked as a principal, I started finding the longest lines, like when I went to the store, um, because I used to get, you get upset. Why is this line so long? I have to wait, da da da. Well, guess what? That 10 or 15 minutes, I could just stop
Yeah.
and just quiet my mind, do some thinking, get into a better headspace. So I thought, well, I'm going to make a positive out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to complain about the long drives to work and back. Well, guess what? While I'm sitting in traffic, I get to think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You always s- see the glass half full, half empty, kind of that concept, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and I don't do it as much as I'd like to, but I know a lot of people I talk to uh, do walks with nature.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about being outside and being, I guess it's your feet in the grass type of thing.
Yeah.
But
And
that walking, yeah,
I've actually read some neurology papers that say that it actually grounds you and it changes the brain frequency. And that's how you kind of stay grounded. And that really makes a difference.
so isn't that interesting? What was somebody's experience that was good for them actually has a scientific reason why.
Yeah, yeah. Because, I'm a science nerd. I'm always looking for, like, when I started with the whole mindfulness practice, and I'm like, okay, tell me, is there any like evidence to all of this?
Yeah.
Are there research? And part of the conference, there was a whole neuropsychological presentation that really talked about what happens in your brain when you practice. How is it scientifically proven? There are some studies
Mm.
where they do MRIs and things like that before and after, even just like a humming bee breath before and after. And they're like the brain frequency changes. It goes from a scrambled image to a more kind of the way the patterns of the MRI kind of change. And with that, they're able to say, okay, this is how it's positively impacting you by doing things like meditation, walking with bare feet outside, things like that. So, yeah, I'm always excited to pull out a new a study that shows, okay, there is an evidence to all of this.
So humming bee breath, yes. I don't know which way you do it, but
So
yes.
you breathe in, and as you breathe out, you kind of hum.
Oh, a hum. Okay,
Yeah.
so my yoga teacher was doing.
Yeah.
He called it bumblebee breath. Yeah, yeah.
They have found that just one humming bee breath can change your brain patterns and help you kind of get grounded, and in that way you're more in the reflective mode than the reactive mode, with all the brain centers like the amygdala that is responsible for fight or flight, that kind of calms down with just one humming bee breath, is what I've heard from a few neurology papers. Yeah.
Oh, isn't
Very
that
interesting.
funny?
Sorry,
Oh
I
my
got
God.
sidetracked. I'm always excited about all
No, no,
these studies.
that's fast. See all these ties that we don't know about. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I would do it in public, but I've been known to. My husband, in fact, I might have done it the other day, and my husband said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Boom." Sometimes I'll do that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, um, you went from being a lead, being in the school system to now coaching leaders, and you said a little bit about how you had the time to kind of learn what it took for somebody after their retirement to kind of do what they needed to do, and you turned around and now you're coaching other leaders. Tell me more on how it really started and what kind of coaching do you do at this time?
I was tapped by my state principals organization to get some specialized training
Okay.
um, that was being used to train principals that who were in struggling schools.
Okay.
And as part of that, it was a national training group. And as part of that, we had to pick a project. I didn't have a school, so I talked to the person who was in the lead, and that person said, well, you could look at a more general thing like program manager or program manager or coaching. And since program manager is what I've been doing ever since I was teaching and administrator, and I thought I don't want to do that. I mean that I already know. I already know. I have the Girl Scout badge. So I went and did the coaching, and I found out that there was training and that there was certification and that it was very specific. And I followed all that. So I had 120 hours of classroom instruction, 500 hours of coaching, and I had to submit, was it one? I think it was two 30-minute audio tapes of me coaching that was then adjudicated by experienced coaches.
Mhm.
And I was able to receive there's an entry an entry, and now I'm at the second level after all of that, professional coach with the International Coaching Federation.
Mm.
And based on that, I've been able to utilize that to learn more people, get together with more people in the business industry of coaching. There are different types of coaching. I did not want to be a life coach. That was too
Yeah.
close to psychology. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then there's executive coaching, which was more for, I didn't even know there was I didn't know what C-suite meant. So I knew that wasn't for me, but I did realize that leadership coaching was actually what I was doing, as well as the entrepreneurial coaching for people like myself who had retired and were going into their encore career.
Okay.
I didn't want to be a mentor because I didn't want to tell them, but I
Yeah.
wanted to provide leadership. And I don't want to say guidance, but asking the questions that would lead them to where they could decide what was best for them.
Okay.
But they didn't have to go through all of the courses that I went. So I decided I can do my own website. So I took a class at Nova
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
I
We're
did,
very skillful.
yeah,
It's not, I have absolutely no knowledge about when it comes to computers. Thankfully, I have an IT husband, and I'm like, okay, can you fix this or can you make this? And it works. But to be able to go back and learn how to create your own website and do it, wow, that sounds a lot of fun too. But it, it sounds,
well, and I'm,
sounds
yeah, and I'm still 10 years ago. So I'd probably, if I were really serious into doing a phenomenal website,
yeah.
I would probably have to get a professional now just because it's so much more advanced. But 10 years ago, I'm like, well, I can do this. Eighth grader can, I can.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I had to learn all the ins and outs of being an entrepreneur and what that meant as far as licenses and taxes and get a CPA and so those were the things that I was hoping after 5 years of experience that I would be able to help. And I think I have, to the point where some people decided that being an entrepreneur is not for me. I'm going to find a part-time job somewhere.
yeah,
It's hard.
yeah.
It's hard.
Makes sense. It is hard. Yeah. So coming to Centerville Day, as an event coordinator for so many years, what's the most rewarding part of bringing the Centerville Day to life?
Well, the most exciting is that the day starts and all the vendors are in place, the food court, the food trucks are open for business, and we start the opening ceremony with the flag ceremony and the Magic Hands Orchestra, which is a group of teenagers basically who come together and play. And I see our local politicians there and nonprofits and people who love history, people who love selling, people who are in the parade. I mean, just everyone comes together, and it is just a wonderful display of community.
Yeah, yeah.
Just awesome. Just awesome.
Does it overwhelm to see all those people like at the same place, same time, and or are you kind of used to all of that at this point?
It can be overwhelming. You're exactly right about that because there's all these little pieces.
Yeah,
So each year I try to find another way to make it easier or more efficient. For example, for the past couple of years I've worked. I know this sounds so silly, but I've worried about, for example, the people who come to the opening ceremony who are basically our guests and they are receiving awards and other people are there to help give the awards and other people are there because of whatever reason and they're just wandering around and I can't help them because I'm busy with the fire marshal who comes to inspect and the generator person that has to all these inspections. um and this one doesn't like their spot, can they move somewhere else, blah blah blah. Anyway, so I said, I need someone who will welcome these people so I know they're okay. And then I came up with this idea of concierge.
yeah,
So this year I have 6 concierge who are in different places in the venue whose job is they don't have to come to the planning meetings. Their job is to be there for those people. So I have actually a neighbor who is the concierge for the special guests for the opening ceremony. I have a concierge for the vendors, and
Yeah.
his job is to welcome and make sure they have what they need. And do they need a bathroom break? Because that was the other thing. We had vendors there, they were by themselves. So I don't know when they went to the bathroom, got lunch. So how do you, so that, and so anyway, I'm going to be very excited to see how that goes.
Very
They're
interesting. Yeah.
taking their jobs very seriously, and I know they're going to do a wonderful job. Um, so looking for those kinds of opportunities to make it a little easier, because there is so much to do. And
Yeah.
then I write out a lot of things to send out. And when people don't read those, then I do get a little cranky, just a little cranky.
Because it has a lot of details. So you want to make sure everybody's aligned and doing what they're supposed to do. So it makes sense. So how do you, I guess, stay centered and grounded through all of the craziness that happens during that event? Because it's what, 4, 5, 6 hours from,
It's 10 to 4 o'clock.
yeah.
And I go in, so actually from 7 to 9:30 we're doing setup. So
Okay.
I'm in my regular jeans, I'm running around, I'm helping, I'm making sure I count the tables and the chairs when they're delivered. I make sure that the porta-johns go where they're supposed to go. The trash is over there. Trash can truck is over there. So there's all these pieces. And then right like about 9:15, I will go put on my outfit and I
Mm-hmm.
transform myself and I am Miss Charlotte.
Okay.
So Miss Charlotte is from the 1880s maybe, and she is the town's seamstress and song and singer.
Okay.
Seamstress. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Seamstress and storyteller.
Okay.
That is her role. And I actually did that because people either would say, "Hey, you." People were calling me, and it just. Anyway, I got a persona. So Miss Sharp. So I
Okay.
am the seamstress because I did make my outfit, and storyteller because I'll tell stories about all the different areas,
Yeah.
and so that makes it fun.
Very interesting. Yeah. So how does what you're doing with the event planning, is it different or does it complement what you've done with being in the school system as a Rotary leader, as a coach? Does it kind of complement what you do?
I think it does. It utilizes all the skills that I have. It is based on a lot of my experiences of putting events together, putting people together, um, thinking through ahead of time to be proactive. Unfortunately, from my training as an administrator, I have to think what is the worst case scenario. So that helps with Centerville Day a little bit. You don't want to think of worst case scenario, but you have to.
Yeah.
So if this, and when we talk about that with our safety plan, if this happens, this is what we do. If this happens, this is what we do. Um, and when we're planning activities, will this work? Will that work? So that's kind of been my role too. So I see a lot of, and then with coaching, I ask questions because I've had the experiences or I'm curious, one or the other, but a lot of times I've had the experience, but I don't want to insert my experiences and situation, but I can ask questions based on that.
Sure.
And when I train people, I tell them that's where your superpower is. It's not that you're telling people what to do, you're asking them questions because you know what their answer should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe they're going to come up with some things you never thought about. Let's think through this. Again, that non-judgmental piece to it. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, if you would give a piece of advice to leaders or organizers trying to stay balanced, what would it be?
That is probably the hardest thing for anyone to do because you get so passionate about what you're doing, that passion can overtake on either end, actually, on either end. So the best thing I can suggest to people is maybe reframe that and think of it in terms of harmony. What is in harmony for you right now?
Yeah.
Is it may be for a while that I do a lot of focus on Centerville Day because it's getting close to it, and I don't do so much with family. But when that's over, then and especially when Thanksgiving and Christmas comes and all the holidays, there's going to be more with the family than there'll be with, definitely not with Centerville, but with my coaching practice.
Yeah.
So, and this was suggested by another coach is using that idea of harmony and avoiding going too far so that you don't have any time for reflection and celebration and walking in the fall leaves or growing tomatoes, some of those other joys, reading, being with friends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that I offer that suggestion about harmony versus balance, because balance suggests that it's an equal.
Yeah.
And I don't think in reality we have that.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree too. And so when you look around on Centerville Day, seeing families, volunteers, vendors, what fills your heart the most in that moment?
Oh my goodness, they are smiling and laughing and engaging and enjoying each other. And you can just tell this is just a relaxing, wonderful time with my neighbors and new friends I didn't even know I had. And
Yeah.
those connections. I know later they're going to see someone go, I met you at Centerville Day.
Yes.
And so since I had a free Wednesday, I'm on a task force to study our community to see what we
Okay.
want to have planned in the future. And when I looked around at that group, it took me several months to realize how many of those people were vendors at Centerville Day.
Interesting. Okay.
And I didn't put the group together, our board of supervisor did, but I looked around, I thought, oh my gosh. And as it has progressed, they've come to realize that, oh, you're the coordinator?
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, yeah. And now it's kind of a joke every time we meet. Carol, do you have something to say about Centerville Day?
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
What
and they
do you
just
think?
get such joy out of it, and they start repeating what I've said, or they'll say it for me. It's just fun and joy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds fun. Yeah, you're always making new friends and and I think you still have the pet parade and that's usually a lot of fun for families
yes.
and kids to kind of show off their pets and have kids kind of watch other pets and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we had a cockatiel. That's the name of
Okay.
the bird. We had a cockatiel last year. Um, it is a hoot to watch these burly men bring up their dogs and talk about their dogs. I mean, it's passionate. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
How interesting.
It
How
is.
fun.
It is. It's wonderful. And the captain of our police district in our little area, um, he always comes. It's a different person, but that person in that position always comes to help be one of the judges.
Ah.
And it's so funny to see this guy with all his police stuff on and all that. He's seriously judging these pets, biggest personality, best tail wagging.
Okay. And it's a nice kind of change in scenery for them too. I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. But it
Exactly,
sounds like a lot of
exactly.
fun.
It's
Yeah.
hysterical, and it should be wonderful. It should bring a smile to someone's face. It should give them something to tease him about, in a nice way, so that again, it's that relationship building. Yeah.
I agree. So tell me, how can listeners support Centerville Day? And it's coming up this Saturday, the 18th.
It is. It is coming up this Saturday, the 18th. It is at Centerville Historic Park. which is right off of 29 behind the Walgreens. You'll see signs once you turn on either Pickwick, which is where the CVS is, or a little section of Braddock, which is where the Walgreens is. And there's parking in different areas. We have a website. It's centervilleday.org. We also have a Facebook page, which has a lot of information, and our Facebook page is Centerville Day VA.
Okay.
The reason why you have to put VA is because there's a Centerville in Maryland, and they also have a little Centerville Day
Centerville Day.
Festival.
Yeah.
And last year we had a vendor show up, and I said, well, no, you haven't paid, blah, blah, blah. They took out the receipt, and it was for the other Centerville Day.
And they showed up all the way here. Very interesting. Wow.
So funny. That poor people. So anyway,
Yeah.
and to come and enjoy, there's things going on the whole day. There's areas, there's even if you're an adult, a young adult, pets are welcome. You'll see all these different organizations. There's so much going on. It's very family friendly, and it's free.
And
Because
they have the train ride still too, right?
Yep, still have that. Yep. I mean, there's so much. It's just wonderful. It's a wonderful event. There's 2 shuttle buses, one out of Trinity Center and one out of Centerville United Methodist Church. So
Okay.
they can park either those spots or in the neighborhood. There's in walk in. So either way.
Wonderful. This is nice. This is wonderful. I hope you get a good crowd. I know a few years ago we had to kind of close it because of the rain, and hopefully this year you have a pretty successful event. Yeah.
Well, I've asked everyone to talk to any important person they can think of who might have an influence on the weather.
That's good.
For good weather.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's all I had. It's been lovely catching up and chatting. We've worked on and off on things at the office and with Rotary events, but it's nice to kind of catch up and say, hey, to kind of learn more about you and how you do things and all of that good stuff. And I still have some of the charts you've made for my office in terms of filling the bucket. We still have the little buckets and all of the good stuff. So it's wonderful catching up.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And you certainly have filled my bucket today. So I appreciate that.
You.
What I love about Carol's approach is the simplicity and how human it is. Mindfulness isn't something that is separate from what she does. It's incorporated with how she leads with her team members and how she connects with the members in the community. So whether you're planning a community event or something at work, Carol's example reminds us that mindful leadership isn't about the perfection. It's about just being present and being in the room, connecting with the folks around you. Thank you, Carol, for bringing in all this calm, grounded energy and your heart into this conversation. And thank you, dear listeners, for staying tuned to The Mindful Professional. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share, follow, and like and subscribe, and share it with somebody who brings mindful leadership to work and to the community. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and stay mindful. Thank you.